Hello everyone, welcome to my October and November wrap up. I read so many books. I think October was like an average reading month for me. November blew it out of the water. We will get into it. I'm just gonna get straight into it, no preamble, because I have a lot to get through, so apologies in advance. Or you're welcome. All right, starting with October, I had read 8 books, 3 fantasy, 3 romance, and 2 mystery thrillers. I read all but 1 off of my TBR, but 1 was read in November, so it'll be the first book in November, but neither here nor there. First up, we had Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I gave this a 4.5 stars. This series is so good. This was so magical, like everyone says. I was so invested. I kind of enjoyed it because Caraval, you're like not supposed to trust everything. Everything's a game. Like, don't believe everything you see. And like that kind of gave way to an unreliable narrator, which I really enjoyed. If you don't know what it's about, our main character, Scarlett, always writes to Legend, who is the creator, master behind Caraval. One year they get tickets and her sister disappears. And so she's like, well, I'm pretty sure she went to Caraval. So she goes there, participates in the games, trying to find her sister. That's the very vague, loose premise. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I'm gonna insert a picture here of what my November TBR stack looks like. It's like gonna fall over. Next I reread Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. 5-star reread. I think I originally gave it a 4.75. I'm not sure, but 5 stars on the reread. I don't know what to say, but I loved this. Liz and Wes are just like so cute. It's like those like couples that you're like, don't you see it? Don't you see it? And one of them just like doesn't see it. And then when they do, it's like, thank God. That's what this book is. That's how I would describe this book. It's like a warm hug. Liz Bugsbaum is in high school and she's like super into rom-coms. So then her old neighbor crush comes back and she's like trying to win him over, and she enlists the help of her enemy next door neighbor, Wes Bennett, to help her get her crush to not see her as like the little kid that she was when he last saw her. If any of that made sense. It's like tension. They just fight over a parking spot. I then read Nothing Like the Movies. This is another 5-star. I'm sure it helped that I had just reread Better Than the Movies. But oh my God. Wes Bennett, the man that you are, is so... This book is like an extended epilogue, but in a good way. Not in a everything goes right way. Because usually an epilogue's like, oh, and then they propose and everything's great. In this one, they're in college and they break up. And we don't know why for a bit, and then we discover why. But Wes, when he gets, like, something happens in his life that I will not spoil, but he leaves college for a bit. But then when he comes back, which is where we really start the story, the groveling, the pining, I could not get enough of it. And yeah, did the whole thing kind of hinge on miscommunication? Absolutely. Do I usually hate that? Yes. In this book, I didn't care. 5 stars. I understand why people don't like it. 5 stars for me. Then I read Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I gave this a 4 stars. I wasn't as obsessed as other people have been. I did like it. I just like wasn't as connected to the characters as I have been in other fantasies. That's the only reason it's not higher than a 4. But it was still a 4 because it was so entertaining. And I liked the storyline and like, it was good, and I did love Blackwell. Then I read Assistant to the Villain. My friend is borrowing my copy. I do own it. 5 stars. Everybody bow down to this book. I know, people talked about it when it came out. I bought it right away when it came out. I feel like the hype for it died down so quickly because it's so good. Basically, it's a fairy tale world. Our main character lives in a town. She's kind of impoverished. Her dad is sick. Her mom is gone. and she has a little sister. So she's like kind of like the breadwinner because of that. But she doesn't have a job. She just got fired from her job. So she quit. I don't remember what it said, but she's trying to find another job in the market. She finds one, but she gives it to someone else. And then she goes in the woods one day and she runs into this man. And he's like hiding her. She's like, oh God, be quiet. Basically, he's the villain. He offers her a job to be his assistant, and joy and merriment happen. And some bad things, but mostly it's just a fun time. Like adventure novel. I just loved it. Then I read Rookie Recovery by Lex Easton and Gemma Croft. 4.25. This is a hockey romance between Jamie Sullivan and Bowie Archman. Nope. Bowie Archman. Archie Bowman. Archie is a new rookie on the team, and Jamie is the PT for the team. Oh my God, it's like instant attraction, but like kind of forbidden. Like I shouldn't be dating a player. PT. They're like massaging and stuff. This was so good, so swoon-worthy, but there's still like such like a deeper part of it. You know what I mean? I like when like romances like there's like more emotional depth beyond just the relationship. I really enjoyed this, and I cannot wait for the next one. All right, now we're getting into our mystery thrillers. I tried to film reading mystery thrillers for a week. I filmed it. It's gone. Sorry, you're not going to see that, but I will give you my thoughts. First, I read 9 Lives by Peter Swanson. I gave this 3 stars. I enjoyed it. It was intriguing, but I had no connection to any of the characters. The story basically is that there's 9 people and they all get a list of names, including their own. Like 9 names, and that's it. And then one by one, they start dying. And you're like uncovering the mystery with them, but like there's so many point of views. At first there's 9, obviously. You get to see each one of them receive the letter. And then from there they start dying off. But there's also like additional POVs, and it's just like I could not have been invested in any of them because it was like, here's 5 pages of this person and we'll see you in 100 pages for another POV of them. Like, I just couldn't get into it, but it was thrilling. But like, to be honest, I couldn't really tell you what happened in this book. I think I have like a vague idea of what the end conclusion was, but I don't really remember. It was good. Like, the structure of it was good. It was thrilling. I just couldn't connect to the characters, and that's like a big part for me. It is 3 stars. That's good. That's good rating. Then I read The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This was my last paperback Riley Sager that I haven't read. I gave this a 3.5 stars. It took a long time to get into. Then I was invested and it had good characters. I was rooting for them, but like it just took so long. But it finished strong. I would recommend. This book follows Emma, who when she was younger, she went to this camp and she was put in a dorm with these older girls, Vivian, Natalie, and Allison. One night they go missing. No one finds them. And everyone's like, Emma, that's sus because you live with them and you're the only one that didn't go missing. But then years later, Emma's now an artist and she draws the girls in every painting. And her old, like the camp director comes to her and is like, hey, we're reopening for a summer. We want you to be the art instructor. And she agrees. Basically, like, it's all very, like, suspicious. Like, people keep watching her and, like, not trusting her. And, like, she's put in the same cabin. She's the only cabin that has a camera pointed at her door. It's good. If you like camp stuff, like, so good. So that was my October books. Now we get into the chaos that is November. I read 15 books, which is insane for me. Insane. I read 1 mystery thriller, 10 romances, 2 of which are dark romances, 4 fantasies. And by the way, of those, I have 4 5 stars, like 4 brand new 5 stars. You guys just wait. You guys just wait. I also found my like new favorite author. I will be buying all of her books when they come out. This was my TBR, and I read 4 out of 6. I'm gonna try to be as succinct and quick as possible, but I have some of my favorite books is in this, so I don't know. Sure. First I read Five Survives, finishing out that mystery thriller. I gave this 4 stars. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was very like Holly Jackson, like got me interested in the characters. I liked how different they all were. I was like fuming at some of them, one of them, but it only took place in one location over one night, so like I don't know. But this one was so good. And the twists and the turns and the holy moly, I was reeling. I was like, what? 4 stars, really good. This is about Red, who her group of friends takes an RV to their spring break. One night they get lost in the woods and then they break down and takes place overnight in the RV. It's so chaotic. I think there's 6 of them, but 5 survive. At first it takes you a little bit to get into it, but once she like starts doing the twists and the turns, it's twisting and turning and you can't look away. My other thing was like a little bit in there, a little bit, kind of like the twist started stagnating, like more the plot started stagnating, like what was happening. It was just kind of like, okay, can something happen? Like, but when it did, it did. Next I read Match Game by Brittany Arreguin. I don't know how you pronounce your last name. I gave this 3 stars. This was like a random, I got it on a stuff your Kindle day. For the most part, I loved this book. It was hockey, gaming, all of it was really good. My problem was with the romance, which it is a romance book, so that's kind of a big deal, but it follows 2 people. One of them, our female main character, I don't remember the FMC's name, but she is the new director of esports at her college. It's the first time they've had a director of esports. It's now like a sport thing program. And she gets a lot of misogyny. And so men are awful. And then we have Griffin, our male main character, who is a famous hockey player for the team in that area. And I don't know why this is them. They both decide to play this video game and they get connected and they play this video game together and they're like, hey, I actually really enjoyed playing with you. They share discords or something. Eventually they meet up in real life. They strike a fake dating deal. And so it's fake dating for at least the first 50% of it. And I was loving it. I was eating it up. Oh. We got to 50%. Switch flipped. They made it real. So like the tension kind of broke in that way. It's an adult romance, so there is spice, but like not in the first 50%. They didn't even insinuate any of that. But then at 50%, they were like, oh, we like each other, this is real. And then they started like going heavy on it. And so it just was, I don't have a problem with spice. It just was like out of nowhere. I was cringing at the spice scenes. I could not take it seriously, and I feel like that's a problem. But it's possible that that doesn't apply to everyone else, but for me, that's what my issue with it was. Also, I did note when I reviewed this on Goodreads that the 3rd act conflict, like the situation surrounding it, was dramatic and out of left field and out of character. I don't remember what that conflict is. I simply do not remember. I feel like that says something, but 3 stars. I honestly like, it's part of a series. I'd read the other ones. It was a fun time. Then I read Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. It's the sequel to Assistant to the Villain, and I gave this one 5 stars as well. I never said what our main characters' names were. Basically, in Assistant to the Villain, you're following Evie and the villain. In this one, you're still following Evie and the villain, but you get a little more POVs. I can't say much about this, obviously. I will say the romance in the series, slow burn, but I loved it. Sometimes I get really frustrated with slow burns because I could just get like screaming at the characters, but this one has so much plot built into it that like I'm screaming at the characters, but then I'm like, okay, but we have so much more to deal with. That being said, I love the slow burn in this. This is a 5-star song. It's just love. It's all love from me. I loved how it built on the first one. There's like, well, something happens at the end of the first one that this one starts with, but there's still more to it. Just like the first one has a lot to it before we get to that big thing. The found family in this series, it like solidified in this book. Oh my god. I was like, it was insanely good. It was like, I literally like want to be all of their besties. I want to work for the villain, but you can't blame me. If you read this book, you can't blame me. It's just like, it's just natural. Next book I read is Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. I gave this a 4.5 stars. This book was so good. I know people say that, but I'm gonna be real with you. It took me a while to get into. 40 to 50% through, like here-ish, you know, I don't know when exactly, but then, oh, I blew. It was like, you get so much buildup, but it's so necessary. Because once we get to that halfway point and they like are finally like, because this was also a slow burn. We were 300 pages, 400 pages in, I think. And that's when they first kissed. So much happened. It was so crazy at the end, and there is no way this doesn't have another book. This book follows Lilia, who has this tragic incident happen with her mom. This is a gory book a little bit. I'm gonna be so honest. It's pretty gory. Her mom dies in this mysterious way, and no one believes Lilia on how she recalls it happening, but she's like so dead set on it. So then when she's in college, she writes a paper that's supposed to be about a made-up illness, but she writes it about the illness that she's pretty sure is what killed her mom, but no one believes her. But turns out that is a real disease, and her teacher sends it to this university called Dracadia, and she gets a full ride for a semester, and she takes it because she's so broke, but her sister needs to go to this boarding school for her, like, I think mental health, so she needs to pay for that somehow. So she's like, I'll find another job and I'll pay for it. So much happens, but basically it's a professor-student romance. The professor, his name is Devrick. The students call him Dr. Death. So, but it's so good. Nocticadia, I'm so excited. I have so many more Carrie Lake books. And I read Pole Position by Rebecca J. Caffery. I gave this a 3.75 stars. This book is an F1 male romance. This book is so interesting because it came out in the UK, and then the US release date is March 11th, which is like crazy after when it got published in the UK. And then randomly during November, it got dropped on Kindle Unlimited. That's how I read it. I was going to pick it up in March, but I ate this book up. I really did, okay? I really did swoon for these men. The only thing that I had a problem with was structural issues that somewhat took me out, but then like after a few pages, I'm like right back in it. So not a huge deal, but it was slightly taking me out of it. But then I was like way back in it, and I was like swooning for these men. Basically, this book, I can't tell you names. I'll put names. Our male main characters are two F1 drivers that one of them been on the team. His teammate gets injured. Other one is a rookie that's having his first time in the big leagues. I don't know F1 very well. So they have to be teammates, and they like push each other, and they're mean to each other, but not in a bad way. So they spend more time with each other. One thing leads to the other. And I can no longer call him my brother.
This night we share together will surely get better. One thing led to another. Now I can no longer call him my brother.
You what?
I like really enjoyed how their relationship developed. It wasn't like they immediately were hooking up. There was a lot of like tension and back and forth, but then they were hooking up, but they were still like tension, but then like slowly, you know, those walls were broken down. It was good. I actually like enjoyed it a lot more than I remember enjoying it, but like as I'm recounting it, it was so good. And I will be picking it up in March. I do want a physical copy. Thank you. Next, I listened to Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. If you haven't heard of this book yet, oh, get ready. I gave this book a 3.25 stars. This audiobook changed lives. It's on Spotify. This is a serial killer. No, I'm so sorry, Josh. This is a stalker romance. So dark romance. This is about a nurse named Allie who watches thirst trap TikToks of people in masks on TikTok. Specifically, the faceless man. She comments and she takes a screenshot one day of a video, and sends it to her guy she hooks up with. And she's like, you want to try this with me? And the guy's like, yo, we haven't talked in 6 months. I'm moved on. And she's like, oh shit. Because she's a nurse. She's like so busy. She doesn't even realize. That guy shows his roommate. He's like, look what you just sent me. And the roommate's like, that's me. He does a lot of questionable things. But somehow I was justifying it. Somehow I was like, no, but you needed to do that. No, but that was so necessary. I think the author like says this much, but like, he is a cinnamon roll boyfriend. And man, was he obsessed with that damn cat? Yes. An unhealthy amount? Yes. He said, that's my son. He met him once. But you know what? He's just a softie. It's so cute, I want to say, but it seems like you really enjoyed it, but you gave it a 3.25. What's up? The reason I gave it a 3.25 is because I don't think I was ready for the amount of spice that it had. Like, I don't read a lot of dark romances, so like, actually I don't know that I've really read any. I'm still new to that, so it wasn't like totally here for it. Some of it, very much some of it. The second half follows a certain plot, and felt like the plot just started to fizzle out. And as much as I was like still enjoying it and I was still invested, and I was still like, what is gonna happen? It just was like falling a little bit flat, and like tension was gone, so it was just like, I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite end to a book, which is why I have it 3.25, but I highly recommend you listen to this book. I highly recommend. Then I read Face Off by Chelsea Curto. I read all 6 books that are out in these 2 series. Let's talk about Face Off. This is part of the DC Star series, which follows Maverick and Emmy. Maverick Miller is the right winger, I think, on the DC Stars hockey team, and they're getting a new player named Emerson Hartwell, and he's like, okay, sick, we're getting this dude. So he goes to the stadium, arena, whatever, to greet this new guy, because he's a captain. And he sees this woman, and he's like, let me just flirt a bit. And she's kind of like not here for it, and she's like, go away, dude. Then he walks into the office of his coach, and who walks in but Emerson Hartwell, the woman he just flirted shamelessly with, and now they're teammates. And this has, oh my god, then he's trying to like win her over just like to liking him, because now she's like so like, dude, no. And oh my god, they have this like thing where every day they get to ask each other a question to get to know each other better. It might be just like one of the cutest things I've ever seen or ever read in a book. Maverick Miller, you have my heart. But anyway, they start hooking up, and then, you know, it's a secret because they're on a team together, and then eventually they're like, I don't think this is just hooking up. This is just a great book. The female main character is the first woman in NHL hockey. That aspect is so good. I ruined my sleep schedule to finish this book. I stayed up until 2 a.m. on a work night to finish this book, and I did cry twice during that night. There's like one thing that happens that absolutely made me tear up, and then another smaller thing that like is just basically like a nice act of service, I would say. I sobbed. I sobbed. So I really want to reread this already. I love these people. And I will say before I move on that Maverick is part of this friend group of people not on hockey team. And we're gonna see them pop back up in her other series that came first, or started first, which is the Love Through a Lens series. But again, I read all of that, and I read all of this that is out, so I will talk about it later. But then I read My Dark Romeo by Parker S. Huntington and L.J. Shen. This was on my TBR. I gave this book a 2.75. I don't know how to even describe this book. Our main character is Dallas. She lives in this southern Georgia, I think, town. It's apparently stuck in like 1800s southern culture, because they go to this like debutante ball. And this is modern days, by the way, because they're literally making references to everyday normal things. She goes to this debutante ball. She is engaged to this man. It's like an arranged marriage, and they like don't ever talk, nothing. But basically the society's like, you must save yourself for marriage. If you don't, you're unpure. Like, that's the worst thing for everyone's reputation. But at the debutante ball, there's these two like new guys that are like, you know, hot shit, but like they never come to these things. Romeo and his friend. Everyone is like lining up to talk to these guys. She's lining up to get to their shortbread that they have on their table, because she really wants that shortbread. She is so obsessed with food in this, it's crazy. So she goes for the shortbread, and Romeo's like, yo, what do you think you're doing? And then he propositions her, and he's like, let's meet in the garden. I'll bring the shortbread and champagne. And she's like, well, I'm like with the guy, but like, you know what? He's probably hooking up with everyone, so like, I don't have to go all the way. She agrees. Okay. They hook up in the garden, and they lean against a wall, but it ends up not being a wall, and they fall through to the entire party while his fingers are in her. So now she's like sullied, and Romeo's like, don't worry, we'll get married. Don't worry, father. Like, I'll fix the reputation. She's gonna marry me. And this is very much a toxic romance. All she wants is to have children. He absolutely does not want to have an heir. They have the most volatile, like, fighting or disagreements or arguments. Like, I don't even know what to call it, but they're like so awful to each other. I feel so bad for this girl. She's like basically like trapped in his place, and then he's like, oh, I'm not gonna live here. And it was so toxic. And then I was like, how am I ever gonna root for them? Because I didn't think I would ever. Because then all of a sudden they were like, oh, I like my husband. I'm like, but, which sometimes I'm like, oh yes, love. This one I'm like, I just like did not agree with like 90% of the decisions they were making. I was like, you guys suck for each other. Was it cute in the end when they like finally were like actually in love with each other? Yeah, but like I really didn't like believe it because of how much shit happened. But I will say that I was so entertained. I was flipping through it. I was flying. I was like, what the hell are they gonna do next? It was just insane. Will I read the sequel? Yeah, I'm gonna read it. I liked that character in this book. I just like, this cover does not give what the inside gives. I have so much to get through. Next, I read Legendary by Stephanie Garber. I gave this a 4.5, which is the same thing I gave Caraval. I loved how it built on the previous book. There's 3 books coming up that you will get in a vlog very soon. I just have a lot to finish for it, and this one will be easier to edit, so this will go first. But you will be getting a reading vlog where I read this book. It was so good. It's a second in a series, so I really can't say much about it, but basically my jaw was on the floor, and I read it in like 2 days. I think I read 200 pages in one day. I was flying through it. And I read Power Play by Chelsea Curto. This one is a 5 stars. This is also in that reading vlog. This book follows Liam, who's the goalie on the DC Stars, and Piper, who is a reporter for the hockey team. This book is not for everyone. I just recently saw someone talk about it, and I understood what they were saying. It has so many tropes in it, but I ate all of them up. I think she did them super well. To me, it all made sense, and I loved every second of every trope that she put in here. The crux of this is she's like inexperienced, and he like teaches her. That's like how they start. She was divorced to like an awful man that like never really like taught her anything and like valued her in any way. And so she's trying to get Liam to like help her because she feels very like safe with him. And it was so good. And then like halfway through, it's technically on the back, but I really feel like because it's literally 50% through, it's kind of a spoiler, but it's on the back. Something happens when they're in Vegas that you can probably insinuate, and the book is different from there on out, but it's still so good. I think the reason that I really liked this book was the connection that the characters had. Like, I loved Liam. He was so sweet, and like, even though he's like this very reserved man, he like wasn't around her, and he like so many sweet things. I really feel like this one was like a character emotional connection. And will I have to reread these books for when the next one comes out? Absolutely I will, and I will not complain about it. No, I will not. This is the second in the DC Stars, and then our third book follows their, I don't know what he is position wise, but his name is Hudson. And at the end of this book, it's like, here's what's coming next in this world. And it's 5 other names. There's going to be 5 more books after this, and I literally can't wait. But the next book, Slapshot, comes out February 11th. Oh, I'm so excited. Next, I read Camera Chemistry by Chelsea Curto. This is the Love Through a Lens series, which technically started before that one. This is a novella. Obviously, it's super tiny. Starts off the series. This follows Maggie and Aiden, who basically are convinced to do this photo shoot where, like, you meet a stranger and you, like, get to know them, and, like, the pictures capture, like, relationship unfolding. They, like, have instant chemistry. Hit it off in not a sexual way at first, because they're just talking, getting to know each other. So good. But then they're like, okay, let's have like a one night stand, because we clearly have a connection. The one night is majority of what this book is, so it is a lot of spice. But then they're like, can't get each other out of their heads, and they get together at the end. It's very short, but for what it was really good. I gave it a 3.5 stars. Absolute banger way to start. The male character, Aiden, has a daughter named Maven. She's 16 in this. Maven will continue to come up. You just wait. Next, I read Caught on Camera by Chelsea Curto. This is the second book in the Love Through a Lens series. These are the best friends to the couple in the first book. Sean is the head coach for the football team, the DC Titans, and he's Aiden's best friend. Lacey is the... what is she? To be so honest, I don't remember what Lacey does. Lacey is best friends with Maggie from the first book, and they become like this like friend group. They go to the football games a lot, and one time Lacey's like, okay, I'm gonna bring a date to the game. They sit like front row near the sidelines. There's a kiss cam, duh, because it's a sports game, and her date is like talking shit about the kiss cam the whole time, and then the camera obviously goes to them, and he's sitting there like pouting and being like, no, I like, this is stupid, and being a real asshole. Eventually the cam moves on. Lacey's super embarrassed, but then throughout the game the kiss camera keeps going on them, and she's just getting more and more embarrassed, and eventually Sean is like, oh my god, like, I feel so bad. So he's like putting a stop to it, and he jumps up there and he kisses her. And obviously there's like sparks and shit, but then they're like best friends. But obviously that video was viral because it's like the head coach jumps into the stands to kiss this girl. From there, they enter a fake dating scenario where she's fake dating him so that she can raise money for her hospital. Oh, duh. She's a pediatrician. So she's trying to he's gonna go to the gala with her and like donate something to bring money and awareness to her hospital, and hopefully she can get a promotion. He agrees to fake date her because he needs a date basically to Christmas at his family's house, because he's sick of everyone being like, when are you gonna settle down, when are you gonna settle down? So he's like, okay, fine, I will bring Lacey home, we'll pretend to be together, that'll get them off my back. So that's their fake dating agreement. These two are like so sweet. Sean is like literally like, I can't even describe, but the love confession in this was so good. It blew my mind, and I was literally like obsessed with them. My review for this on Goodreads was, I kicked my feet and giggled an egregious amount. And that is so true. I was swooning, and I literally highlighted like almost every single page has some kind of annotation on it. Like, I was obsessed. I didn't say Caught on Camera, 5 stars. Chelsea Curto, insane at the end of chapter like hook, I guess. So good at writing like the end of chapters and keeping me hooked because I spent so much time reading and I didn't want to do anything else. In my reading vlog that will be posted after this, I do talk about this book and I just like, I can't shut up about it, so I'm gonna shut up about it here. The other book I read in that vlog is Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the first book in the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. This was so good. I gave this a 4.25. I was like so interested in the world. Amelia is such a complex and cool character. I feel like I love characters like her where you start out and they have this juxtaposition with another character, where they have a juxtaposition with another character that makes them appear to be weak or not exciting because the other character is so adventurous and strong. This one is Amelia has a twin sister who's like super adventurous, like always taking risks, and Amelia's kind of just like, no, no, no. But oh my god, is she not? When she's like on her own, free of that character, basically. Not that that's like the best thing in this because her sister dies in this, but she's like so strong, so independent, so like, I don't give a shit. She's like fighting these freaking the kings of sin. She is so strong, and like the twists in this were so good, but like more than anything, I feel like the romance was like so beautifully placed. It's like tension in the beginning, but like they start to rely on each other. I cannot wait to keep reading this. In fact, I may continue it today or tomorrow. We'll see. Then continuing my love through a lens read, Behind the Camera by Chelsea Curto. I gave this book a 5 stars. This is Single Dad and Nanny. This book follows Maven, the daughter of the guy in the first novella couple, and Dallas, who is the kicker for the DC Titans that Sean is the coach of, and you see how this is all connected, right? Dallas has a daughter, June, and she is, I think, 4 in this, and basically he's like so overwhelmed being a single dad, like the mom is totally not in the picture, he has full custody, and kicker in an NFL team. He's so stressed in the beginning, and he's like, Sean, yo, if I like can't find someone, like I might have to retire, because he's gone through so many nannies because they all always are like kind of just getting with him because he's famous and a athlete and not caring about his child. So then enter Maven, who drops out of college or gets kicked out of college, and she's trying to get a job, and she gets a job as a photographer for the DC Titans. There is a no fraternization rule between players and employees of the team. So there's your little forbidden, on top of it all, a forbidden romance. She goes into Sean's office because Sean is her godfather. It's like her dad to her. So she just walks into his office and Dallas is there, and she's like, oops, sorry. Dallas is like, will you watch my daughter? Because they have like a very brief meeting before this, and her and the daughter get along fine. It's not much, but it's something. So he's like, will you watch my daughter? Will you be the nanny? There you go. That's money for your rent. Like, you don't have to worry about that. She agrees. They become a nanny and single dad. They obviously have some tension. It takes them a long time to do something. Dallas has these friends, Reed and Maverick, from DC Stars. You see the connection? They also were like right there with him, learning how to do all this stuff, like changing diapers and bottles and all this stuff. So like the 3 of them are like so sweet in that way because they all just like came together for this little girl. And he does so many things that are just so sweet to Maven, like before they're ever cross a boundary. The forbiddenness of it is like, oh my god, oh my god, I would like so anxious toward the end of this book. It just was a beautiful story. So good. I also annotated the shit out of this. But my highlighter was dying near the end. So I had to start just underlining stuff. I was like literally like running out of highlighter ink, and caught on camera too. 5 stars, if I didn't say that. 5 stars. Last but not least, the last book in the Love Through a Lens series that's out today, Off Camera by Chelsea Curto. This book follows Reed, that 3rd friend in that little group I was telling you about, and Reed is the social media person for the DC Titans. You see it Behind the Camera, and I think in the DC Star series that he has this feud going with the Baltimore team social media manager. Like, they DM and like fight, and they like comment on each other's things. This book starts with him meeting this girl. Well, let's start with the girl's perspective, Avery. And she has this horrible date. Holy shit, horrible date. She eventually ditches the guy and sits at the bar right next to Reed, and they have this beautiful connection, but they never get the chance to get each other's numbers because they both get pulled into work. Then Dallas and Maven's wedding happens. Thank you. And they're both guests there. And Reed's like, holy shit, you're here. I thought I lost you forever. And then so they hook up at the wedding. She is the other social media manager that they have a feud with. So his friends are just like, oh, you got along with Avery? Oh, okay. Because they never say what they do for work, which is so good. Eventually, they find out who the other person are, and they kind of like go full 180 into like, we're feuding now. This book is good. I love Reed, I love Avery, but I really only like them in the second half. Minus the first couple chapters when they are like strangers, I just didn't like the way that their relationship started. It was very, well, I liked how it started. I didn't like how it, like, once they found out who each other were, it was just hooking up to hook up, and like it was that for a long time. And I just felt like the way that they met each other like outside of work was like they were so strongly connected that it just felt like they totally forgot about everything when they started like, you know, actually having feelings and doing all these relationship things. Oh my god, I was hooked. I was in it. This was so good. So I can't even like really harp on it because I still enjoyed it so much, and I cannot wait for the next book. If you are reading this series, when you get to this, just read it because it's so good. And I am so intrigued by the next one because I don't think the male main character has really any connection to anyone in this, because I mean he will be like with Dallas on the team. This has been the longest video I think I've ever recorded. I hope this chaos ends up being shorter for you all, and I hope that in some way you enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys found something you enjoyed, or something you want to read, or something that you also loved. And if there's anything that you should take away from this video, it is to read Chelsea Curto, specifically DZ Stars and Love Through a Lens, and Assistant to the Villain and Apprentice to the Villain. Those are my suggestions. I highly recommend. My December plan is I have created this list of December Kindle Unlimited reads, Christmassy reads, and I am going to put them all in a jar, and every 4 days I'm going to pull a thing out of the jar, read whatever book is on there, and then hopefully I will have finished it in that time, and then I can read the next book. And so I think it's 6 books leading up to Christmas that are all Christmas themed, and I hear they're all good. So you will see that video. Unfortunately, you will not see it until Christmas, but I will be starting it now, and hopefully it will be a good like recommendations for next year, or books to avoid for next year, or maybe some of them are just like winter in general and you can read them even after Christmas. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time for that reading vlog.